Hello, my subscribers. Back to some movie reviews. So I'm going to go ahead and review the John Wick Trilogy. John Wick 1, John Wick Chapter 2, and John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. All amazing movies I love. So for John Wick Chapter 1, this was the movie that really surprised me, considering when you first read the plot, you think it's going to be the stupidest movie ever. A frickin' former hitman goes back into the mob world just because his dog got killed, but it's the kind of movie you gotta watch to really warm up to, and within the first 30 minutes you really connect with Wick. And okay, I'm just going to say this right now, this is a spoiler review. These movies are plenty old enough, so spoiler filled right here. All I'm going to say is that right now. So anyway, John Wick's wife passed away. She died due to cancer, and she also gave him a dog as his last present. And there were these goons that came in and decided to kill him because this one goon wanted his car. Another thing too that motivated him to go back and get vengeance. And he kills his dog, and everyone's all intimidating. One of my favorite scenes is the guy who killed him. He tells his dad, and he's all like, "Oh," and he's all fucking intimidated because John Wick's nickname is the Baba Yaga, which is, I forget what language it is, but it's for boogeyman. So coming up next is going to be an impersonation of the first fight in the movie that I really love. I'm going to go ahead and mime out, so let's go ahead and show you that. So in this fight, Wick is fighting a bunch of goons that are coming in trying to take him out, and he's all putting on his suit and everything, getting ready to get back into action. And it is such a badass fight because they're all trying to come in thinking they're badasses, getting ready to shoot him. First thing Wick does, slams the guy's gun against the wall, slams it down on the ground. Wick has a little fist fight for a bit, and then regains their weapons, and I think he shoots one of them. Fake, by the way, disclaimer right now. Any shot you hear is fake. This thing ain't real, as you can tell by the orange tip. So anyway, there's also this one goon who he knocks down, and I think what he does is he uses his legs and arms to chokehold him to death, and it's just a really badass moment, and that's the first of this skit that I really love. So back to the movie. So then after this fight, Wick decides to go after the Continental Mafia, and remember that name of that organization because they're going to be very important in Chapter 2 and 3. So anyway, they go on to, Wick goes on to fight these goons, and he decides to chase them down. And in one of my favorite moments that already establishes the rules of the Continental Mafia, Winston decides to tell him, hey, you conduct business on Continental grounds, you're excommunicado, and you're going to have every assassin going after you. Such a great moment that establishes the John Wick rule that you don't conduct business, which is killing on Continental grounds. And this then leads into a moment in the nightclub fight scene, which I really love. So I'm going to go ahead and mime it out. Just imagine that this wall is a person, because there's this real badass moment that Keanu Reeves does. So anyway, so what he does is there's this goon right here. He already fired a bullet in him, but he didn't kill him, and his clip is out of his gun, and what he does is he like shoves it on his arm like this, and then decides to shoot him in the head. And such a badass moment when he does it. And then after that, just a whole another badass moment where he's fighting goons and lighting them up left and right. And this real awesome moment too where this big goon fights him, and he throws him off the ledge and he falls. And I love that the movie doesn't cut away from it, and you actually see Wick frickin' shoot a few times after that. He doesn't give up, and throughout this fight you see him get hurt a few times, and there are a couple of others throughout it, but they're not really important. The big moment we've been waiting for, which is Wick taking his vengeance. So he's going after the uncle of who his nephew was, who killed him. He already previously killed him. It was a pretty awesome scene, but I don't really feel like impersonating it, because what Wick basically does is he just lights the guys up and then frickin' just takes him out like he's just an average goon. So the more important fight is when he goes after his uncle, and there's this real badass shot where Wick is in his car, he's literally driving, there's this guy on his frickin' the top of his car, and he's literally doing this while driving. He's frickin' shooting him right from the roof, right from the top. And oh my gosh, it is just freaking amazing how he does it. And fight we've been waiting for. John Wick against the uncle of who his nephew killed his dog. Badass fight, and Wick gets stabbed to show us that he's human and not a superhero. And also leads to another amazing moment where Wick takes in this dog that was scheduled to be euthanized and becomes his dog throughout the rest of the trilogy. And that's it for John Wick Chapter 1. So now we're on to John Wick Chapter 2. So anyway, this movie picks up almost like shortly after the first movie. And Wick's going after these goons to get his car back. And I can't impersonate the moves that are happening there, but the rest of my moves is pretty awesome because Wick is driving in his car. He's like using his car as a weapon, and he like does this freaking drift where he turns around and the car hits the guy. And it's just a real badass shot. Great way to show us that this sequel is going to up the ante and it's not going to fuck around with its action. And same thing with John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. But that's coming up next. So anyway, finishing this up, Wick's motivation in this movie is that he had a blood oath, which is another part of the Continental world, to one of his former associates named Santino. And he says that if you violate this or run, there's this great scene where Winston, who I previously mentioned, he says you can't run away, you gotta pay back all your debts. And there is this real great scene where Wick and this gun dealer are showing off their guns. So anyway, Wick goes after his target. He killed his target, who turns out it's actually Santino's sister, and he kind of does a mercy kill because she slits her wrists, and he decides to still fulfill the deal and shoot her. And anyway, frickin' there's this real badass fight where he's being chased by some of the best frickin' hitmen at the Continental Hotel, and here's what happened, what I was talking about before. Wick literally goes up to a stage and kills two goons, and people are really cheering and getting excited over it, and it's just such a great moment. And then there's this badass fight in this catacomb scene where it's not too dark, and Wick is doing some badass poses like these. Like he'll see a guy coming, grab his gun, shoot him, and then do the same thing again, hide, shoot again, and just really solid fights. And it really only gets better because Santino actually set him up, and it's a real solid fight. So moving on to the next part that I want to do a skit for. So Wick lives up to the legend of what he did before. There was a legend that he killed a guy with a pencil. And there are these two goons after he has this contract that goes out on him where he literally frickin' so imagine this is a head. He literally kills one guy, stabs it through his ear, and kills him with a pencil. And then he does it again to the other guy. Kills him with a pencil. So that legend of the guy. And what's funny is at the beginning of the movie, there's one of the car shop owner is all intimidated, and he says he killed a guy with a pencil. Who the fuck can do that? Just such a great payoff right there to see that. And I'm not going to impersonate the scenes because I don't got anybody to do it with, but all I'm going to say is there's this really badass fight between John and this hitman called Cassian. So anyway, Cassian and him fight, and it's a real great fight because there's this one part where they're fighting, and they literally fight in your Continental grounds, and it is just so hilarious. The guy who's the head of the Continental grounds literally says, "Hey, stop it! No conducting business! You're on Continental grounds! Do you want to be excommunicado?" And just such an awesome and hilarious moment all at once. And this leads to another character I want to highlight who's going to be a little more important moving forward in all these John Wick movies. His name is the Bowery King, played by the legend himself, Lawrence Fishburne. So anyway, the Bowery King gives him a gun full of 7 bullets. Very next fight, Wick goes after these goons. And there's this really awesome fight with all these mirrors around. I don't know if I can find an image for it, but watch the movie. It is really awesome, and there are some really great shots. And freaking Wick fights this one goon played by Ruby Rose, and it's so funny. She continues to taunt him because she's mute with like sign language and says, "Be seeing you, John." But what's funny is she ain't coming back, so you won't be seeing him again. And then this leads to the moment of truth when Wick just has it, the Continental rules, and decides to turn Santino into tomato soup. And that sets in motion John Wick Chapter 3 as Winston gives him an hour to to escape, and this is literally how the movie ends. The contract goes out, people are looking at their phones, looking at the contract, and Wick is scared as shit, running away. And that is right where John Wick Chapter 3 picks up. So now on to John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. Literally picking up with Wick running, looking around because everybody's looking for him. And in the background we hear the women who handle the paperwork of the Continental Hotel saying, "John Wick, excommunicado, 20 minutes." And the tension just keeps building. We see Wick look at some old pictures and other forms of memorabilia he has with his former wife Helen. And let's just say this movie fleshes out their relationship more and really does a great job of making us care for him a little more. So before going into the ending, thought I would establish that. And there's this really awesome fight where, no kidding, John Wick fights this big Russian goon. And I kid you not, kills him with a book. Of all things, a frickin' book! My God, I knew this movie was going to have some awesome action, but I did not think John Wick could kill a guy with a book. And what I can't believe is there's this long fight. He's like hitting his head with the book like this. He's hitting him like that. And the way he kills him is he like holds the book down, grabs his head, go ahead and just act like these handcuffs are a head, and literally shoves it right on the book. Bye-bye, big Russian goon. You're no match for John Wick. Which then leads to some other solid scenes and some more solid world building where John Wick encounters this medic who was in John Wick Chapter 1. And what's funny is he has to make it look like John Wick put up a fight for him because he's on the run fighting a lot of goons left and right. And there's this real awesome scene where Wick makes a revolver, makes sure to hear it, and then one of the goons makes the wrong call, blows his head off just like that. And he also shoots the doctor like right here where it won't kill him. And he has all like, because he had to make it look convincing so the high table won't get it. Because the high table, let's just say they're going to play a little bit more of a bigger role as the story of this movie goes along. And to get this out of the way, there's also this assassin who's basically like a hitman for Wick, who's a samurai.
32.
Alright. So anyway, that goes on, and basically this movie is just a non-stop chase with some moments sprinkled in between to flesh out Wick's character and learn a little bit more about his backstory. But anyway, there's this one awesome fight where John Wick and these dogs, you'll have to watch the movie because I'm just going to stand in for Sophia, where him and this former ally named Sophia fight all these goons. And they're shooting guys left, right, up, down, side, and Sophia's doing the same thing, doing fancy moves, and it's a real solid fight. And then there are these dogs that are teaming in, and let's just say if you're a male, they bite them in a particular part of their body, which if you're like me and you feel the pain of others, you're gonna know how you feel right there. Let's just say that. So anyway, Wick meets the Bowery King because some of his former associates are being axed left and right, and it leads to this real awesome fight between Wick and that samurai I mentioned, along with all the members of the high table who are armored. And let's just say the ending is really solid. Winston, we think he betrays him, but I believe the theory that this was set up where he takes out Wick and shoots him a lot, and Wick falls, but at the end of the movie we see him still alive. He gives the Bowery King the finger, but there's this theory that Wick is like a private assassin for Winston, and he's using him as a way to take out the Continental, like the high table. And one last character I want to highlight too, who is the main member of this high table, is this one woman. I forget her name, but she is important, so I want to highlight that right now. So in conclusion, what I'm going to say right now, my ratings for all these movies go John Wick Chapter 1, 9 out of 10. Will admit the ending was a little weak, so that's why I can't give it a perfect rating. John Wick Chapter 2, 9.5 out of 10. It gets a little bit of an edge on it, and I don't know why, but I just really love how the cliffhanger at the movie ends. It is just really solid, and for John Wick Chapter 3, to be honest, I'm going to give it the same rating as 2. I kind of love them both the same. For me, it's kind of hard, and I kind of want to just see Chapter 4 come in. All solid movies, highly recommend them. If you love really awesome action movies, highly recommend them. And instead of doing my usual ending, all I'm going to say is like this video, like it, comment, and subscribe, and go watch John Wick.